Welcome to our channel. I'm really glad you're here. I'm Mike with Zippy Snap, and I hope we can craft a kinder, more creative world together. Today we're going to make an ice cream cone and the ice cream to go inside the cone. It's a really fun craft, and I would say on the difficulty meter, I'd give this a 3 out of 5. That means it's a medium craft. You can download this craft template with zippysnap.com, and the tools we're going to be using today are scissors and tape. So get ready for some ice cream. We have our cool ice cream dispenser, and so what we're going to be making are these little ice cream pods. And I have this little dispenser that dispenses all of them, and we'll be making these ice cream cones. So it's going to be really exciting. So to start, I'm going to put all those away, and we'll get out the template. So the first template here is this first page, which is the waffle cones. So waffle cones have two shapes, if you recall. Do you kind of know what that looks like? We'll get into that here in a second. So as we cut this waffle cone, just be very careful because this is a semicircle. So I like to take nice short cuts with the scissors because they're a little hard and it helps it get a little bit more round. And then I kind of turn it as I go. And just be careful with your hand behind that you don't cut yourself. But we're just going to cut this, and you have 2 waffle cones you can make. We're just going to do the one since I've already made a few already today. So this is our cone shape. We have it cut out. It's a 1/4 of a circle if you didn't know that. So you can kind of see it makes a 1/4 of a circle. And all we're going to do is we're going to try and rotate it to make it look like a cone. So what I like to do is I like to start with some tape, and I'll put the tape just on this edge here. So that way once I get the cone over there, I don't have to be trying to grab some tape while doing it. Now, very important, keep an eye on your tip down here where it comes together, because that's what you really want it to be closest to. So you want to make it kind of as tight as you can so it makes like a little bit of a point, because if you do it too often or too much, it may not quite come to a point down here. So we want to pull the paper so it comes to a point, and then we're going to have just a little bit of overlap. So I do about this much, which is about 1/4 of an inch, not a lot. But once we have that point there, we'll push that piece of tape right like that, and then I'll go ahead and get another piece of tape down by the point. And it's okay if it's not perfect. It's an ice cream cone, so it's going to be delicious no matter what. So I told you there's 2 types of ice cream cones. There's the flat kind, where they're flat all the way around, and then there's the ones that kind of have it kind of goes down the front. So I'm going to show you how to make the front one. So with the front one, all we're going to do is we're going to make what looks like a V. And that V is going to come in here like this, and we'll just have cut almost what looks like a flat V, and there is an ice cream cone with the dip in the front. And so then we can pull our ice cream out, and it will look much like that. And if I wanted to put some tape on it, I could get a second flavor and tape that second one right on top. So now I have a 2-scoop ice cream cone. So we made the cone. So now let's try doing together making some of the ice cream. So this is a little bit harder part. So we have 4 different flavors. I wonder if you can guess them. We'll start with the rainbow one here. I just like it because it's a little bit more colorful. And this line on the outside that you see, we're going to actually cut that line on the outside. And the white line right here in the inside is a fold line. So that's going to be where we fold it. But it does take a little bit of attention and time to cut these. They almost look like snowflakes if you wanted to take a guess as to what it is, or maybe a flower. It'll look like a flower here in a minute or so. And so we're just going to cut it out, and just try your best to follow the diagram. And if you don't quite get it, that's fine. It's okay. So you have 2 ice creams. This one is the rainbow. Can you guess what this other one is on the page? I'll give you a hint. If you did the envelope craft with us, you've already done this one. That's right. If you guessed cookies and cream, you are correct. That's what this other one is. And sometimes I find it's easier to just cut that, move it off. So now we'll cut around, and we're just going to keep cutting. What's your favorite part about ice cream? What do you like about ice cream? I can tell you one of my favorite things about ice cream is how light and fluffy it is, and cold. But do you like to eat ice cream in the winter? You probably like to eat ice cream all the time. I do. My mom in particular loves ice cream. It doesn't matter if it's 10 degrees outside. She will eat some ice cream. She loves it. It's great. And so just be very careful when you get to the center there, because the center is going to be the top of our ice cream structure, or bottom if you look at it that way, but it's going to be the edge, as I like to call it, of the ice cream structure. So you just want to be a little careful not to overcut, but it does take a little bit of tension to cut it out, and it looks a little strange, but you'll see why here in a second as it starts to come together. And then this bottom, this is the bottom part. So this would be the opposite of the top, is what that circle is at the far end. That's why it sticks out so far, is it's going to kind of cover everything up at the bottom. And we're using our imaginations to make these just something fun to do. All right, so now before we go any further, we're going to fold the lines at the lines. Now they're circles, so you can't fold a circle, so we're going to fold it flat, because you can only fold a piece of paper flat. So we'll just fold it between the two edges that are white on the edges, but it's more of a guideline of whereabouts the fold should be. So we're going to fold all the corners just so that they're all folded. Makes it a little easier, because if you don't do it at this step, it's a little harder to do. So now we have this kind of jelly-like fish almost, where it's flopping along. But the cool part starts to come along right here when we start to get our tape. So we'll put our piece of tape. So this is how we get it to do its shape. I like to put, it doesn't matter which way you put the tape, but it does, you just want to pull these two sides together so that where it was open is now closed, and tape it. And it's okay if you go a little bit over. Nothing wrong with that. So again, you're just going to pull those two sides together and tape. And you'll start to see it starts to create a bend on the paper, because those two sides are coming together. So it starts to lift it right up and make how we want it to look, like the ice cream scoop, where it goes out. It becomes three-dimensional. So we're just doing that. And sometimes I like to think it looks almost like a ring pop, or maybe a wedding ring. If it was a really, really big wedding ring. All right, so now we have all those sides taped. Now you have just the bottom sides left that are open, and we're going to do the same thing to the bottom sides. Now I like to leave the bigger part, the one with the circle at the end, last. So we'll start over here, just because it kind of finishes off. And you're going to put those two sides together and then put a piece of tape. So do your best. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just kind of try and line these two sides up. And it's also helpful while you're lining those sides up to just put one piece of tape on there, and then also make sure your folds line up if you can. But like I said, and it can overlap. That one overlapped for me just a little. Every ice cream is different. Every person's different. So it's fun to see what the end result is that comes out. And like I just did, I accidentally taped it. If you need to, you can cut the tape, but I was able to pull it back off. And this is the last piece we'll do right there. And now we're going to fold this top down, because we have the top that's just wiggling in the wind, that little top. So the easiest way I found to fold it down is we'll put a piece of tape on the top far side, and then give it a little fold before we tape it, and tape it on the opposite side there. Now some of my tape's coming off, so I'm actually, before I tape it, come back in here, push that tape back on, And you don't want to be too hard on this step. Don't push it too hard, but just lightly push the tape on. And I'm going to do the sides. So we're doing these sides here. And now you have your scoop of ice cream. This is my rainbow ice cream. So you can put it right there. And if you need to adjust, if you want this a little bit taller, you can always make the cone a little bit tighter. You can also cut the cone off a little bit further. But I have my scoop of ice cream, and I can add it right here to my dispenser and dispense it. Thank you so much for crafting with me today. I hope it brought you joy and helped your creativity grow. Always remember, you matter and you are valued. I look forward to creating our next craft together very soon. Goodbye.